How's it going, guys? My name is Trevor, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about superglue. Starbond superglue, to be more specific. In the past few years, we've been seeing superglue introduced into woodworking around the globe. And now today, it seems like you can't go into a wood shop without finding some sort of superglue. Now, superglue can be a lot of fun to use in your shop, but it's very important to know what you're doing with these adhesives. I know I'm not the only one out there who has stuck my fingers together with superglue in the past. And now that you're thinking about putting superglue in your shop, I want to take a minute to show you guys a couple of tips and tricks that will help you guys utilize this even better. Now, before we get into actually using the glues, we need to talk about preparation of your product before you glue it or fill it. Now, you could just wipe away any dust that is on the board with your hand and that will kind of clean it. At the very minimum, I would use a lint-free cloth to wipe down your piece, which is great for surface to surface gluing. And for those deeper or bigger knots that you're wanting to fill, I would highly recommend using something like compressed air. That's just going to make sure that there is no dust in those knots at all. Now, surface to surface gluing, a lot of people can't mess up. It's when you get into filling knots and voids with this type of glue that people tend to misuse this product. So allow me to introduce you to something called layering. Starting out with a thin layer of glue and then hitting it with accelerator and then building up your layers to fill in your knot or void is going to work a lot better than trying to fill the whole void at once and hit it with an accelerator. Trying to fill the whole void with the glue and then hit it with the accelerator is going to cause the top layer of glue to cure, but everything underneath it will probably not be cured. So make sure that you're keeping each layer thin enough that the accelerator can penetrate all of the glue and cure it all at once. And when you're spraying your accelerator, you don't need to be soaking the glue with it. If you do that, you're going to be introducing too much moisture to the glue, and that is definitely going to affect your curing process. So now that we've learned about our layering technique, it's time to put it to practice. Here we have a typical void that you would find in wood, and we're going to use Starbond's medium black to fill the void. Using our layering technique, I'm going to go in and just put a few dabs of glue into the void and allow them to penetrate the wood. Letting your glue sit for the first minute or so on the first layer is important because it allows the glue to seep in and penetrate the wood and make good contact with it for the first base layer. Once you think you've waited a sufficient amount, you can then spray it with your accelerator. Once that first layer of glue has dried, you can then repeat the process, laying down a thin layer of glue and then again waiting and then hitting it with the accelerator. One thing I like to do when using this technique is to use something small and sharp like a nail to test the layer that I just laid down to make sure that it did indeed cure. I'm not going to ruin the nail in any way, and I can just spray more accelerator on that layer to make sure that it cures before I proceed in laying down another layer. I like to build my layers up until they reach over the top of the piece of wood that I'm working on. This is going to allow me to sand back the glue and make it level with the material a little bit easier. And if you layered correctly, you should have a nice looking filled void at the end of this process. Now you have to fill a void that is at the end of your piece. Here we're going to use a simple fix to make sure that your CA glue doesn't waterfall off the edge and ruin your table and your piece. That's right, a simple piece of blue Scotch tape will work perfectly fine along the edge of this piece. And just make sure that it's pushed firmly against the edge, creating a nice tight stopping point for your glue. Make sure you follow the layering technique and you should have a nice crisp edge ready to work on. This next tip is for when you want to glue two surfaces together but you don't want those surfaces to be permanently bonded to each other. You could just use a couple dabs of CA glue and the accelerator to glue the surfaces themselves to each other, but then pulling them apart is going to be a hassle. Here comes our hero again, blue Scotch tape. Simply put a base layer of Scotch tape on each side that you're wanting to glue. Put your CA glue on one side and then spray your accelerator on the opposing side and stick them together. With this technique, you are making the equivalent of double-sided tape. It's strong and easy, and it can be used in many different applications. This is by far one of my favorite CA glue techniques. I have used it on countless projects around my shop. Because of its simplicity and wide range of applications, this is one of the main reasons I have CA glue in my shop. It's safe to say that's not going anywhere. Until you want it to. When you're done using this technique, simply find something to pry them apart, and they should come apart pretty easily. And now it's time to test the technique. Like I said before, I have used this technique many times throughout my shop. One of my favorite ways to use this technique is with my CNC. That seemed to hold up pretty well. And now that it's done, all I need to do is pry it off and we're good to go. And now that we have this wonderful piece carved out, I think we should add a little bit of flair to it. We could throw in some black or some white or maybe even some brown. But why stop there when Starbond has a whole lineup of mica powder pigments? Yes, you heard correctly. You can mix mica powder and Starbond CA glue and come up with some pretty sweet looking inlays. Now Starbond Thick is going to be your best option when it comes to making these mica powder inlays. Take your thick CA glue and mix in a dab of mica powder. You don't want to add too much powder because it will cause the CA glue to fire off or cure rapidly. Also, when attempting this technique, it is good practice to wear gloves, glasses, and a respirator. The mica powder will cause the glue to set up more rapidly, so you don't need to worry about layering as much with this technique. Because the glue is going to cure more rapidly, you shouldn't need accelerator with this technique either. Starbond provides a wide variety of pigments from their black, white, and brown lineup to their RGB lineup. So you can mix in any color that you can imagine, and you can also mix and match mica pigments to create custom colors of your own. The possibilities are endless, and you can have a lot of fun with this technique. Because the mica pigments are causing the CA glue to cure so quickly, I just took a quick lunch break and let that inlay cure by itself. And that'll do it. I hope that you guys got a lot of information out of this video, and I also hope that it made superglue a little bit less intimidating. And I gotta say, for such a small package, Starbond provides a huge benefit with a ton of uses in your shop. And that's just a few demonstrations of the things that you can do with Starbond products. To see what else Starbond has to offer, head over to starbond.com and check out all their amazing products and other tutorials like this. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.